Chapter 1960. Portia was stunned. She still didn't really believe him. But the phone in Chen Zhao's hand did light up. You said she did something to my phone. How did she stop my phone from turning on? You won't understand such high-tech work, Chen Zhao said in disdain. Portia didn't believe that Chen Zhao was talking about advanced technology. Chen Zhao's understanding of the high-tech appliances and equipment in the house was even lower than Portia's. How could Portia believe that Chen Zhao knew more about technology than her? Boss, is there really a problem with that woman? Yes. Chen Zhao nodded. Then what does she want to do? Sneak into Mingyue Villa to set off a bomb. I don't know, Chen Zhao said. They're probably here to ask about my family. Chen Zhao's head hurt. These were troubled times. All sorts of people had popped up. Furthermore, he was too careless. Even if he didn't notice that woman's mistake earlier, he wouldn't be able to do so. Just from the coincidence of her rear-ending Portia, he should have guessed that there was something wrong with her. The Empress Dowager herself was slow to realize it. Chen Zhao was annoyed. Next time, he would definitely not be careless. As long as there was the slightest bit of doubt, he would make his move. Why did he care so much? He was not a good person. Anyway, this time, Chen Zhao was sure that this person was a bad guy. Xing'an was currently soaking in a container. However, after Cui Xin returned, Xing'an opened his eyes. Although Sainton accepted Trish's help. However, this did not mean that he trusted Cui Xin. Even if Cui Xin was his sister. Xing'an was always on guard against Cui Xin. Although they were separated by the container, Xing'an could still see Cui Xin's expression. You seem to have run into something bad. Let me guess what it is. Xing'an spoke from within the container. But the strange thing was that he could actually speak in the liquid. You disguised yourself as an ordinary person and snuck into that human's house and were almost discovered, right? Xing'an knew Cui Xiyue too well. Whether it was from the perspective of human morality or from the perspective of the dragon race, she was an extremely evil dragon. Tri Silly sat in a chair in front of Saint Anne's container, her chest heaving. Do you think my experience can make you happy? So, what did you gain from this infiltration? I discovered that the human is indeed very powerful, but he is not completely invulnerable. Him. What weakness could he possibly have? He didn't discover any weaknesses, but he made a fatal mistake. What mistake? He said that a dragon's head was placed in his courtyard, Cui Xin said. Xing'an furrowed his brows at first, then a look of surprise appeared on his face. This time, you don't need to take out your wealth. Maybe there's a way for our people to participate. Placing a dragon's head in the courtyard as a decoration was already a huge taboo for the dragon race. Xing'an continued to stare coldly at Cui Xin. Why are you helping me? If you want my treasure, then don't even think about it. I won't give you my treasure, not even a single silver coin. Cui Silly smiled as she looked at Sainton in the container. This isn't the best place to hide. You're heavily injured, yet you still want to hide here. This means that this place is very important to you. You hid your treasures here, right? Cui Xin sneered. Xing'an, who was in the container, suddenly became agitated, and panic appeared in his eyes. It seems that I guessed correctly. The treasures are here. If you dare take even a single silver coin from me, I'll kill you, Xing'an growled as he stared at Cui Xin. I don't want your treasures. I only want one thing. Cui Xin stared at Xing'an. If you don't agree, then I'll take all of your treasures. What thing? Xing'an looked at Cui Xin angrily. The caltrip all, Cui Xin said. I don't have that thing, Xing'an denied without even thinking. Don't be in such a hurry to refuse. If you give me the caltrip all, not only will I not touch your treasures, I'll even give you information about the treasure island. I've been to the treasure island before, so I know its location. Cui Xin's words were extremely bewitching. That place is filled with endless treasures. Don't you want any of them? Xing'an was silent for a moment, then said, I really don't know what the Caltra ball is. Maybe you really don't know what the Caltra ball is. Maybe it's hidden in your treasures, Cui Xin said. At the same time, Cui Xin took out a drawing that she had just drawn. This is the shape of the Caltra ball. Xing'an narrowed his eyes. Originally, he really didn't know what the Caltra ball was. However, after seeing the drawing of the Caltra ball, he immediately remembered. The Caltra ball was indeed in his hands, but it wasn't piled up among his treasures. The dragon clan had a habit of splitting their treasures in half. This was to avoid any mishaps from happening, so that their treasures wouldn't be taken away at once. Xing'an also had this habit. You don't have to deny it. This Caltra ball was obtained 200 years ago when you slaughtered a Native American tribe, Cui Xin said. So what? Maybe I've already thrown it away. After all, I'm only interested in shiny and valuable things. You definitely still have it. Cui Xin said with certainty, the Caltra ball has some kind of mysterious power. You won't be mistaken. Even if you can't tell what the Caltra ball is for, you won't throw it away easily. Just like how Xing'an understood Cui Xin also understood Xing'an. Xing'an finally laughed. He finally felt that he had the right to speak. What's the Caltra ball for? Xing'an was indeed as Cui Xin had thought. Although he didn't know what the Caltra ball was for, he could still feel the power it contained, so he still kept it. With his vision and experience, he had experienced this many times. Something that seemed useless at first would eventually be found to have great value or use. Now that Cui Xin was so eager to obtain the Caltra ball, it meant that the Caltra ball was indeed very useful or valuable. Otherwise, Cui Xin wouldn't be unmoved by the treasures she had hidden in the manor. Cui Xin was also a dragon, and her greed for treasures was deeply imprinted in her blood. It was impossible for her not to be moved. Unless her desire for the Caltra ball was greater than the treasures. That's my question. You just have to answer me. Do you accept this deal? Cui Xin said coldly. Before I figure out what the Caltra ball is for, I won't accept this deal. Chapter 1961. Cui Xin cursed. That's a part of the artifact created by the Mayan civilization, Cui Xin said. Artifact. Xing'an couldn't help but look greedy. Think about it. Do you want to use this divine artifact's component to exchange for information about the treasure island, or do you want to say that you won't get anything? Not only will I kill you, but I'll also take away the treasures you've hidden here. As for your secret treasure, I'll definitely find it. When that time comes, you'll have nothing left, Cui Xin said. You only told me information that I don't know is true or false, and you want to exchange it for an artifact. You're too greedy. You're the one with a big appetite. It's just a fragment of a god artifact, not a god artifact. Think about it, the treasure's on the island. Even if you recover your true form, you can still sleep on the treasures. How wonderful would that be? Xing'an couldn't help but lick his lips. He couldn't hide the greed in his eyes. What the dragon race pursued in their lives was nothing more than treasures. Since the prismatic all is a part of the artifact, does that mean that you also have a part? Xing'an asked. Cui Xin's expression grew colder. Xing'an didn't hide his greed at all. What? You want to take the part of the artifact from me? Cui Xin was also wary of Xing'an. Let's think about how to deal with the Dragon Slayer, Xing'an said. To deal with the Dragon Slayer, we first have to prepare a battlefield. We can use the information that the Dragon Slayer accidentally entered the dragon race to attract the dragon race, but most of the dragon race are old-fashioned. They won't show themselves directly, and they won't fight in human cities or nearby areas. So, we have to choose a battlefield for them, Chui Xin said. Humans and the dragon race had always maintained contact. To a certain extent, they were considered relatively stable allies. Neither would initiate a war against the other. In fact, even the lawless Chui Xin didn't dare to show herself in broad daylight. Because the consequences of doing so would be very serious. By then, it wouldn't just be the dragon slayer hunting her. Even the dragon race would hunt her down. Because she broke the agreement between humans and the dragon race. Initially, the dragon clan had not supported her misdeeds in the spirit world, nor had they interfered or objected to her actions. However, this didn't mean that she could do whatever she wanted. After all, there were many dragons that were more powerful than her in the dragon clan. Then what are your plans? Find a remote place and open up an alternate dimension as the battlefield. Then, lure the dragon slayer inside. When the time comes, he won't be able to escape, Chui Xin said. That's a good idea. Xing said, however, that dragon slayer is not weak. With our levels, I'm afraid we'll need at least a lot of people of the same level to kill him. I know that there are 2 radical dragon fathers in the dragon clan. These 2 dragon fathers are husband and wife. They despise humans very much and always believe that humans should be the slaves of the dragon clan. Hee hee. I have the same idea as you. Although Xing'an was full of pride towards humans, he had been in human society for a long time. He knew that this was no longer the era of the dragon race. Although the dragon race was powerful, the humans had an absolute advantage in terms of numbers. Moreover, they also had powerful weapons that even the dragon race had to retreat from. Of course, if an all-out war really broke out between the humans and the dragon race would definitely lose, but the humans wouldn't have it any better. It was more likely that both sides would suffer and the entire ecology of the Earth would be destroyed. This was just like the International Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons. Humans and the dragon race also relied on their own strength to achieve a balance. It had to be said that this was a mockery of reality. Chui Xin sneered, I'm not like the 2 of them. Although I'm wanted by the spirit world, I still have freedom of movement. However, the 2 of them are banned by human countries. They forbid them from entering their country's territory. Otherwise, they'll be killed. Oh. Which human country would dare to impose such a ban on 2 dragon fathers? The East, Huaxia. Chui Xin said gloatingly. Xing'an frowned. He had been to the East. However, he went as a human. But the moment he stepped into Huaxia's territory, he was already targeted. He felt that if he dared to do anything wrong, there would definitely be thousands of troops and horses tearing him apart. During that trip, Xing'an came and left in a hurry. Since then, Xing'an had never set foot in Huaxia again. He still felt at ease in America. No one could restrict him here. In the past 400 years, he had been accused and imprisoned by humans. Then, he calmly left the prison. Moreover, magic was barren here. Even if spiritualists discovered his identity, they couldn't do anything to him. He could easily destroy those spiritualists who tried to go against him. What about the 2 dragon father-level dragons? Where are they now? They hate humans very much. It seems that they suffered a great loss in Huaxia. In the past 20 years, they've been hiding on Dragon Island to recuperate. Will they make a move this time? Xing'an asked. They will. As long as the news reaches the 2 dragon fathers, they and their children will be very happy to use this method to announce their return. Their children. How many? Their way of thinking is extreme among the dragon race. Their fertility is also extreme. In the past 2,000 years, they gave birth to a total of 12 children. They also raised their children to have extreme thinking. Dragons were a very strange race. Their fertility was very weak. But they could give birth to children with almost all races. It was normal for a dragon race couple to give birth to 1 or 2 children in their lifetime. Giving birth to more than 2 children was really a blessing from the dragon god. If they could give birth to 12 children, then they would really be blessed. Shingen was a little dumbfounded. Dragons could give birth to 12 children. How strong was their fertility to be able to do that? I heard that they have their own secret. Many dragon race have asked them for advice. They've also gained a lot from it. Shingen's eyes lit up. This was a cost-free trade. If he could get the secret, other dragon race would definitely spend a lot of money to buy it. But the dragon fathers were destined to be impossible for him to get his hands on. What was a dragon father? It was a dragon race of a higher level than them. Either they were talented and relied on their own efforts to break through to the dragon father level, or they automatically advanced to the dragon father level when they reached 2,000 years old. What are their names? Tugu and Melita. He had such a huge amount of assets and an astonishing income. She didn't think that Chen Zhao needed to be involved in any illegal businesses. Chen Zhao was really rich. He could even negotiate with the banks with his current savings. He could ask the bank to give him a higher interest rate. After all, the bank would earn a lot if the money was kept in the bank. The bank could use the money to invest and obtain more benefits. Not to mention some high-risk investments, even buying a high-security fund would earn more than the bank's interest. In America, there were 2 types of customers that banks liked the most. One was the high-spending type. They had a lot of credit cards in the bank and had a lot of spending each month. At the same time, they could pay back the debt steadily. The other type was like Qin Zhao, who had an astronomical amount of cash in the bank. After all, a normal person who deposited a few $1,000s in the bank would be treated like a king. Moreover, Qin Zhao had hundreds of millions of dollars. Moreover, Qin Zhao's spending power was also astonishing. The credit card that Citibank gave Qin Zhao was also of the highest level, the legendary black card. It was said that the bank could satisfy all the requests of black card customers, even if the request was unreasonable. In reality, it wasn't that amazing. At most, it could satisfy some reasonable requests. If Qin Zhao wanted to open a secondary card, he didn't even need to go to the bank. Andrews would bring the card to Qin Zhao personally. If the bank didn't give him a higher interest rate, Qin Zhao could just say something and change to a different bank. Andrews would probably lose his job. So, in Portia's eyes, Qin Zhao's wealth meant that he didn't need to do any illegal business. Unless Qin Zhao sold nuclear warheads, he wouldn't be able to earn more than he did now. Even those rich people on the Forbes list might have more assets than Qin Zhao. But in terms of earning money, Qin Zhao might not be slower than them. In fact, he might even be faster. When Portia first talked about Qin Zhao, she didn't have a good impression of him. It was mainly because Portia didn't have a good word to say about him. But after interacting with him, she realized that Qin Zhao wasn't that bad. At least, if he was a gang leader, Portia wouldn't just be scolded for making such a mistake. Maybe Portia would just disappear from the world. He wouldn't let Portia have time to complain. This meant that Qin Zhao treated Portia well. At least, it meant that Qin Zhao had a bottom line. She knew very well how easy it was for a rich and powerful person to make an ordinary person disappear from the world. Fortunately, Portia had met Qin Zhao. If it was another boss, she would have died countless times. Just then, Zephyr's phone rang again. Portia, prepare dinner tonight. With that, Zephyr went to answer the call. Zephyr returned to the house and looked outside to make sure that Portia wasn't eavesdropping on her call. I'm Zephyra. What's the news? Zephyra, we might be in big trouble. Today, there were alarms at LAX and LAX train station. Alarms. 2 alarms. Yes, and it's not a departure alarm. Dragons have entered LAX, twice. That means that 2 more dragons have come to LAX. Chapter 1963. A skinny old man strolled out of the airport. Beside the old man was a woman who was supporting him. Melita, how many of our children are here? 2 are here, the woman said. Bunker and Ingley. They're already in North America, unlike us 2 old men who came all the way here. Human aircraft are so uncomfortable, Tugu said. Tugu said, locked in that narrow iron shell, I wish I could tear that iron shell apart. You're still so hot-tempered. Melita had a faint smile on her face. The thing is, if you do this, the risk is too great. Even the Dragon Clan won't let us go. In my opinion, we should just poison the pilot. That way, there won't be any risk. Your poison is too recognizable. Not good, Tugu said. When the 2 dragons walked out of the airport, Tugu suddenly looked at a corner. Ha! That seems to be a magical device set up by the Dragon Slayer to target us dragons. Are there those annoying bugs in this city too? Tugu's face was full of disgust. Remember what that little girl called Chui Xin said. Our goal this time is to deal with the Dragon Slayer. So, it's normal to see this kind of magical device in a place like this. Melita looked up at the dark clouds in the sky. What an annoying domain. This must be Chui Xin's domain. I like that little girl very much. I admire her style of doing things. Melita looked at the corner of her eye again. There's a little bug. Tugu, do you want to catch him for fun? No need, just let him follow us. What's the point of a little bug? Let him inform his companion so that more bugs will be attracted. That way, it'll be more interesting. Mr. Tugu, Lady Melita, over here. Tugu and Melita saw Chui Xin waving from afar. Chui Xin, you're stronger than 20 years ago. I have high hopes for you. Tugu smiled faintly. Thank you for your compliment, Mr. Tugu. Please get in. Do I have to be stuffed into this tiny metal shell again? Mr. Tugu, there's no other way. This is a human city after all. But don't worry, when we arrive, you can return to your true form. Have Bunker and Ingley met up with you? Yes, Lady Melita. Let's go and see our children. I haven't seen them for a long time. Tugu and Melita followed Chui Xian to St. Anne's Manor. On the way, Chui Xian asked as she drove, May I ask if any of your children are coming? Of course, all of my children will come. After all, apart from Bunker and Ingley, the other children have been confined to Dragon Island for more than 20 years. They have been bored to death. This time, we finally let them out, how could they not follow us? However, the human aircraft is really too troublesome, so I let them follow behind. They will all come today or tomorrow. That's good. Is the Dragon Slayer you mentioned really that powerful? Are the 2 of us not enough to deal with it? Of course the 2 of you are enough, but I'm worried that the Dragon Slayer will escape if he can't beat us. That guy seems to be very good at speed, so I think we need to form a tight encirclement. If we let him escape, it will be extremely difficult to catch him next time. You're right. A human who dares to insult and provoke the dragons must die. When the car drove to the suburbs, a huge body suddenly shrouded the sky above the car. Bunker, he seems to have lost weight. The dragon called Bunker lowered his head and looked at Chui Xin, Tugu, and Melita in the car. Then, Bunker's huge claws lifted the roof of the car. Father, Mother, you're here. Melita flew up and patted Bunker's huge head. Bunker, my child. Chui Xin brought Tu Gu, Melita, and Bunker back to Saint Anne's manor. When Tu Gu and Melita saw Saint Anne soaking in the container, they were stunned at first. He is my brother, Saint Anne. He was injured by that dragon slayer. Melita moved closer to the container. Saint Anne also opened his eyes and looked at Melita outside the container. Suddenly, Melita reached out and smashed the container. Chui Xin was shocked. Lady Melita, what are you doing? Melita grabbed Saint Anne's neck. Saint Anne tried to struggle, but he couldn't break free from Melita's palm at all. But soon, Saint Anne stopped struggling. Because he realized that Melita didn't want to hurt him. The injuries on his body were healing at an astonishing speed. This is... Chui Xin looked at Saint Anne in shock. Melita is a 5-colored dragon. She has 5 types of magic power, one of which is the power of holy light, Tu Gu said. Won't that consume too much? I won't even need a day to fully recover from such a small amount of consumption. Dragons didn't only have specific attributes. They had all kinds of strange attributes. Only humans had this kind of diversity. Other species rarely had this kind of diversity. Soon, Melita let go and Saint Anne fell back to the ground. Saint Anne checked his body and found that it was completely healed. Based on his previous injuries, it would take at least a few years for him to barely recover. But now, Melita had healed him in the blink of an eye. Saint Anne's face was full of shock. Was this the power of a dragon father? Much stronger than him and Chui Xin. Just this healing spell alone wasn't something they could compare to. Thank you, Lady Melita. Saint Anne bowed respectfully. Where's Ingli? Why don't I see him? Mother, I'm here. Just then, a figure appeared out of thin air. Melita and Tu Gu looked at Ingli. Ingli, your invisibility has improved again. We can't even detect you. That's because father and mother didn't detect me on purpose. Otherwise, my little magic wouldn't be able to hide from them. Mother, father, where are our brothers and sisters? Didn't they come? Of course they came, but they'll be here later. Great, we can make a scene, Bunker shouted excitedly. Saint Anne's expression darkened. Was it really a good idea to call these violent people here? They wouldn't continue to make a scene after killing the dragon slayer. If that was the case, he wouldn't be able to escape. He would also be labeled as an evil dragon. That would be troublesome. Chapter 1964. Tu Gu, Melita, their children, and Chui Xin. They were all lawless, evil dragons. At the same time, they were synonymous with trouble. Xing'an only wanted to accumulate wealth in peace. He did not want to cause trouble with these bastards. But now, he had nowhere to run. If he said that he wanted to back out now, these bastards would tear him apart. And that human would not let him go either. He could only pray that after they killed that human, they would leave Los Angeles obediently. As more and more of his brethren arrived, Xing'an felt even more hopeless. Because every single one of his brethren was so manic and restless. It was as if only destruction could satisfy their desires. The news from Zephyr became more and more serious. It was very serious. Since evening, there had been continuous alarms. And so far, it had been confirmed that all of them were evil dragons. This gave Zephyr and the Dragon Slayer team reason to believe that these evil dragons were definitely preparing some kind of conspiracy. Otherwise, it would not be so coincidental for so many evil dragons to appear in the same city at the same time. Zephyr, Zack has already followed them to the outskirts of a forest. Because the road is too secluded and there are no other cars along the way, he did not dare to follow them in fear of being discovered. I understand. Tell Zach that you did well, Zephyr said solemnly. After a while, Zephyr asked again, how many known evil dragons are in this city now? 7, including Chui Xian, Iluk said. In addition, there are 2 more evil dragons that are even more famous than Chui Xian. They committed crimes in Huaxia and escaped alive. Zephyr had never felt so lost and powerless before. It was already very difficult for the Dragon Slayer team to deal with one evil dragon. But now, they had to face a few evil dragons. And among them, there were even high-level dragons. This was almost an impossible mission. Unless Zephyr ignored the news of the evil dragons gathering. She waited until they scattered. But her strong sense of responsibility made it impossible for her to stay out of it. Send the news to headquarters, Zephyr said. At the same time, she added, help me prepare some equipment. Zephyr, what do you want to do? I need to figure out what they want. Maybe their purpose is to target the Dragon Slayer. I can't let that happen. I need to find out what they are trying to do, said Zephyr. Zephyr, you're crazy. Do you know what you're doing? You're committing suicide. I'll be careful. As long as I have the equipment, they won't be able to find me. I'm not going to risk my life to fight them, Zephyr said. But you are still injured, and your injuries are not light. I'm fine now. I also brought a lot of medicine with me. If necessary, they can still help. Knock. Just then, there was a knock on the bedroom door. She immediately hung up the phone. Portia. Portia pushed the door open and came in. Looking at her expression, it was obvious that she had been sleeping soundly when she suddenly woke up. Portia, what are you doing? Zephyr, you haven't slept all night. Have you been on the phone all night? Sorry, did I disturb you? No, I'm just worried about you. I'm fine. Thank you for your concern. Zephyr would never have dreamed that the culprit of all this was Portia. Go to sleep, or else your boss will scold you again tomorrow. Zephyr had a good impression of Qin Zhao and Portia. To her, they were the kind of people who would slander each other but protect each other. Okay, if you're tired, go rest. You haven't slept for 2 days. It hasn't even been 2 days. All right. Go and rest. Portia went back to her room in a daze. Zephyr was so anxious that her head was spinning. To her, the pressure was too great. In the morning, Zephyr received another piece of bad news. The Dragon Slayer headquarters could not send any reinforcements, at least not in the short term. The reason was that they didn't have enough manpower. In fact, they were also worried that this might be a plot by the evil dragons against them. Moreover, with a few evil dragons gathered together, the difficulty of slaying them would increase exponentially. Unless the Dragon Slayer headquarters used all their resources, it would be impossible for them to succeed. However, the headquarters did not provide any reinforcements. They still had to ask Zephyr to find out what the evil dragons were up to. To put it bluntly, the headquarters had already abandoned Zephyr and her team. But this was understandable. At least, Zephyr felt that she would make the same decision if she were in their shoes. Moreover, she had planned to take the risk alone to find out the evil dragon's plot. Zephyr made some preparations. After packing some things, she planned to go out. Cough, cough, Zephyr, are you going out again? You haven't recovered yet. Portia walked out. She seemed to be in a bad state. Yes. Portia, you don't look well. Zephyr went up and touched Portia's forehead. You have a fever. You need to rest. Portia rubbed her forehead. You're fine even with such a heavy injury. I'm even better. That's different. Zephyr was speechless at Portia's words. Portia could not be compared to her at all. Putting aside her physiological characteristics, Zafra was about to deviate from human characteristics in terms of physiological reactions. On the other hand, Portia was just an ordinary person, so there was no comparison at all. Zafra helped Portia back to her room. Portia was still mumbling to herself, "I'm really fine." Zafra found some medicine for the fever and poured Portia a glass of water. "Take the medicine and rest." After taking the medicine, Portia fell asleep right away. Fever medicine usually contained calming and hypnotic ingredients. That was why Portia fell asleep so quickly. Zafra picked up Portia's phone. She planned to call Chen Zhao and ask for leave for Portia. But Portia had set a password. Zafra tried and could not unlock the phone. Forget it. Zafra glanced at Portia, who was already sound asleep. She did not want to disturb her. She would explain it to Chen Zhao for Portia later. Chen Zhao was not an unreasonable person, so he probably would not make things difficult for Portia. Zafra checked Portia's condition again. After making sure that Portia did not need to call an ambulance, she turned and left. She still had things to do. She needed to get some equipment from Alux first and then go to the place where the evil dragons gathered. However, Zafra was not very confident about this trip. In fact, she had no confidence at all. This trip would probably be disastrous. Chapter 1965. Zafra found Alux. She also found a few of her team members. "Zafra, are you sure you want to go alone?" "There's no difference," Zafra said calmly. "It's more convenient for me to go alone." She knew very well that this operation was too risky. It was no different from suicide. One more person was just one more person dying. It was meaningless. She might as well go alone. "How long will it take?" "It should be done before sunset," Alux said. "That's good. It's safer at night." Zafra nodded. Zafra took out her phone. It was Portia's phone. She'd brought it with her. She thought that if Chen Zhao called, she could tell him immediately and ask for sick leave for Portia. "There's no signal here." "We blocked the signal," Alux said. Zafra thought for a moment and nodded. "Yes, it's safer this way." Zafra's team members busied themselves for the whole day. They finally finished the equipment and instruments before the sky turned dark. "Zafra, this shadow cloak has been strengthened," Alux said. "It weakens the defense, but greatly increases the concealment." To be honest, with the shadow cloak's defense, it wouldn't make a difference against a few evil dragons. Rather than that, it was better to sacrifice the defense and increase the concealment. "Yes. But it can only be used for 1 hour instead of 3, so you can't use it continuously. It's best to use it at a critical moment." "I understand." "And this dragon-slaying weapon?" Alux handed Zafra a full metal gauntlet. The head of the gauntlet was a dragon head with an open mouth. Zafra put on the metal gauntlet and felt the weight of the gauntlet. A full-powered attack from this dragon-slaying weapon is equivalent to an adult dragon's attack, but it can only be used once. And this is a magic crystal. It can be used as mana for the shadow cloak. This potion can forcibly suppress injuries. It can completely suppress injuries in a short period of time. It can also recover your mana. Each potion was placed in a simple syringe. Remember, the green is for suppressing injuries, the blue is for mana recovery, and the red is for berserk potion. "I understand." In addition to these, they also prepared some small props for Zafra. These tools all had their own uses. They could all play a role at the crucial moment. "There's no signal again. What's Portia doing?" Chen Zhao tossed his phone aside, frustrated. Portia was absent from work for no reason. And he didn't give him any explanation or ask for leave. This made Qin Zhao furious. Moreover, Qin Zhao had called a few times today, but there was no signal in all of them. Don't tell me he owes me money. If it's her, it's really possible. I'll see how you explain tomorrow, Qin Zhao muttered to himself. Raising the child alone, Qin Zhao deeply understood Portia's pain. In the past, he didn't find it so troublesome. But ever since Portia had shared the burden, Portia had suddenly disappeared. Qin Zhao deeply understood how important Portia was to him. Qin Zhao walked out of the house. The sea breeze blew against his face. There was even a hint of coldness in his voice. Although the temperature in Los Angeles wasn't that high all year round. However, it was already November. Therefore, the temperature dropped significantly. Moreover, it had been cloudy for many days, so the temperature dropped even more. Just then, Qin Zhao's phone rang. It was Zhang Tianyi. Hey, old Zhang. How've you been recently? Terrible. Why are you suddenly concerned about my health? LA's been cloudy these days, right? Does it have anything to do with that? Qin Zhao asked. That was done by Cui Xin, ranked 5th in the 10 evils. She's a dragon, an evil dragon. Do you want me to become a dragon slayer? Qin Zhao's heart jumped. Was this also a dragon's territory? If you want to go, then go. If you don't want to go, no one can force you. However, I have another piece of news to tell you. Several evil dragons have gathered in Los Angeles. A conservative estimate is that there are at least 10 or more evil dragons. 2 of them are father-level evil dragons and have been blacklisted in Huaxia. They once caused trouble in Huaxia and escaped with serious injuries. Now that so many evil dragons have gathered together, something big might happen. So many evil dragons. Qin Zhao frowned. As a local tyrant, he actually didn't know about this at all. On the other hand, Zhang Tianyi, who was thousands of miles away, was more informed than Qin Zhao. Why are you telling me this? 20 years ago, these 2 evil dragons stole the most precious treasure of Qingqing, then escaped without a trace. If you fight against them, you must be careful. Qingqing's treasure. What's that? Yellow Jade Immortal Mansion, Zhang Tianyi said. Zhang Tianyi said, I haven't seen the effect of the Yellow Jade Immortal Mansion, but I heard from the people of Qingqing Mountain that the Yellow Jade Immortal Mansion was a magic weapon refined by Qingqing Zi, an ancient cultivator. It's a top-grade protective magic weapon. It's different from the refining of modern Huaxia's spiritual world. The level of refining in ancient times is much higher than that of modern times. Besides, even I can't deal with 2 dragons at the same time. I didn't say I'm going to fight them. Are you in such a hurry to send me to the battlefield? That Yellow Jade Divine Mansion is a top-quality protective treasure. You might not be able to use it, but your family can. Qin Zhao narrowed his eyes. If I steal the Yellow Jade Divine Mansion, won't the people of Qingqing Mountain come and take it from me? You can change its appearance. Who would know it's in your hands? I still have you. How about I go to Dragon Tiger Mountain and kill you? If you dare to come, I'll make sure you don't return. Qin Zhao pursed his lips. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. You're really not going to fight? They're causing trouble in your territory. Don't you hate people invading your territory? I've been cultivating my mind recently. I won't get involved in trivial matters. If you can really cultivate your mind, I'll castrate myself on the spot. That's what you said. I'll watch you castrate yourself. Hee hee. I've seen your physiognomy. You'll never be able to cultivate your mind and mind. Your cultivation technique doesn't pay attention to cultivating your mind and mind. If you cultivate your mind and mind, you'll be crippling your martial arts. Do you know where those evil dragons are hiding? Chen Zhao asked. Look at you. I told you that you can't cultivate your mind. Cut the crap. Do you know? I really don't know. I got the news from the Dragon Slayer headquarters. Chapter 1966. Although Erex could not bear to see Zephyra take the risk alone. But he would not accompany Zephyra to her death. They were dragon slayers. What they pursued was to obtain the most benefits with the least cost. He did not think that it was necessary to accompany Zephyra to take the risk. It was more convenient for Zephyra to move alone than with two people. Two people meant a greater price and a greater risk. Although this was moral, it went against reason. Zephyra, I will send you here. Erex said. Yes, this is enough. Alux took out another printed map and pointed at a circled location. There's a manor in the depths of this forest. It's right here. Normally speaking, this manor has been abandoned for decades. However, it's very likely that those evil dragons are hiding here. I understand. You should leave this place as soon as possible. Zephyr turned and walked into the darkness. Good luck. Erex's voice came from behind. After walking in the forest for a while, Zephyr felt a little uncomfortable. I should have listened to that man. It's still a little hard for me to do this kind of activity. Zephyr did not stop and continued to walk in the direction of the manor. Not long after, Zephyr found traces of dragon claws on the ground. And from the looks of the claw marks, it was left by more than one dragon. Dragon slayers had been hunting evil dragons for many years. They already had a complete set of methods to distinguish the identity, age, and strength of a dragon from its claw marks. With enough equipment, it was even possible to distinguish the attribute of a dragon from the claw marks. There were a few trees in the surroundings that were directly broken, probably by the dragon's tail. Zephyr continued to walk forward. The trees here were all fallen, as if they had experienced a superstorm. The ground was full of messy dragon claw marks. The two dragons must have fought here. But from the analysis of these claw marks, it was more like they were playing than fighting. This was not a good sign. They were too energetic and actually needed to rely on fighting to vent their energy. As she walked forward, Zephyr finally saw the brightly lit manor in front of her. The manor did not seem to be abandoned at all. Although the style was ancient, it was very gorgeous. The instrument on Jevra's wrist began to sound a fierce alarm. Of course, this alarm was not a sound, but a feedback of magic waves to Zephyra. This was the feedback from the mana energy detector. The mana fluctuations were getting stronger and stronger, and the detector was also shaking violently. It was as if she was reminding Zephyra to run away from here. Zephyra's expression changed slightly. This device should be able to detect a range of about 10 kilometers. Why did the device only sound the alarm when he arrived in front of the manor? This was illogical. Moreover, the alarm from the instrument was unprecedentedly intense. Just then, Zephyra saw a woman standing at the entrance of the manor. Cui Xin. That's right, it was her. She was too familiar with Cui Xin. Zephyr and Cui Xin had been chasing after her for 3 years. Cui Xin had a mocking look on her face. She seemed to have known that Zephyr was coming. Zephyr turned around and fled into the darkness. But in the next instant, she was blocked by a giant dragon that descended from the sky. Shadow Cloak. Zephyr immediately activated her Shadow Cloak. But at this moment, the descending dragon swept Zephyr out of the shadows with its huge tail. The flaw of Shadow Cloak was too obvious. She couldn't move, and even her own senses were blinded. If it was an ambush in advance, Shadow Cloak would be very effective. But to use Shadow Cloak directly in front of the evil dragon. It was no different from burying one's head in the sand. Zephyr was directly swept away by the dragon's tail. She fell heavily to the ground and vomited a mouthful of blood. At this moment, Cui Xin walked over with a smile on her face. She looked at the embarrassed Zephyr. "Miss Zephyr, you didn't expect that you would be in such a sorry state, did you?" At this moment, a metal gauntlet appeared on Zephyr's hands. It was a dragon-slaying weapon. This metal gauntlet had been sealed with magic. At this moment, Zephyr finally unsealed it, put it on, and aimed at Cui Xin. "Go to hell!" Zephyr shouted. Boom! The dragon's mouth at the top of the metal gauntlet sprayed out a torrent that directly hit Cui Xin. Cui Xin was directly swept away by the torrent. The power of this dragon-slaying weapon was indeed extraordinary. It could reach 70% of the power of an adult dragon in one strike. If it was a sneak attack and there was a follow-up attack, it could indeed bring about unexpected results. But at this moment, Zephyr was only one person. She had no strength to follow up with a follow-up attack. Cui Xin stood up again. How powerful! I have never seen such a powerful dragon-slaying weapon. If I was alone, I'm afraid I would be dead. Unfortunately, the one alone is not me, but you. Cui Xin looked at Zephyr playfully. Zephyr took out a syringe and directly injected a green potion into her neck. Then a blue potion, and then a red potion. And Cui Xin had no intention of stopping it. "The current, you can't even defeat me in my human form." Cui Xin crossed her arms in front of her chest. She was not in a hurry to kill Zephyr. She wanted to have a good time. Ha! Zephyr shouted, and the magic power on her body increased by several times. But even if her magic power increased by several times, compared to Cui Xin, it was still like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. The gap between them was too big. This kind of gap could not be made up for by a few bottles of potion. Zephyr was once again sent flying, but she quickly got up again. At this moment, a phone suddenly rang on the ground not far away. Zephyr searched her body. The phone seemed to be Portia's. She had thrown it on the ground during the battle. Cui Xin picked up the phone in front of her. The caller ID showed that it was the boss. Cui Xin subconsciously thought that this person was that man. The boss of the Dragon-Slaying Guild might be the leader of the Dragon Slayers. If that was the case, it made sense. Why was that man so powerful that he could fight an adult dragon alone? "Hello." Cui Xin answered the phone. "Your subordinate is now in my hands. Aren't you coming to save her?" "My subordinate? Are you trying to use her to threaten me?" "You can think of it that way. If you don't come, then I will kill her." "All right, I will do as you wish." Chapter 1967. Cui Xin hung up and crushed her phone. A smile appeared on her face. "Got it. That guy's here." Zevra wanted to explain that this had nothing to do with that person. It had nothing to do with him, but she knew better. No matter how she explained, it was useless. These dragons wouldn't believe her explanation. Just then, Zevra saw a dozen huge figures appear in the darkness. The appearance of these figures completely covered the moonlight and starlight. The dragon might they emitted also made one's scalp go numb. Even someone like Zevra, who'd faced dragon might countless times, still felt fear. Especially the two dragons. Their bodies were 3 or 4 times larger than the other dragons. One of them had dark and mottled skin. Its back was covered in bone spikes and its mouth was extremely huge. The other dragon was slightly smaller, but it was colorful. Apart from the dragon's body, it also rippled with surging magic power. These two dragons should be at the level of dragon fathers. The other dragons seemed very monotonous. Zevra could roughly distinguish the attributes of the other adult dragons. Such a lineup could almost start a world war. Zevra was already in despair. No one could win against such a lineup. Even if all the dragon slayers came out, they couldn't fight against such a terrifying lineup. Including the two dragon fathers, Cui Xin and Xing'an, there were 13 dragons in total. Suddenly, there was a loud noise outside the forest. Rumble, he's here. Ingli has already contacted the dragon slayer. The invisible dragon Ingli was guarding outside. He was in charge of pestering Qinzhao. We can start now, Tugu said. Let me, Cui Xin said. Just then, Cui Xin's magic power suddenly became restless. In an instant, a very strange wave passed through Refra's body. Zephra's body froze for a moment. She didn't understand what was happening. Just then, the magic around her thinned. Okay, the Dragon Slayer has been enveloped by the alternate dimension. Just then, a figure descended from the sky. Zevra's pupils constricted. It's Qin Zhao. He's a spiritualist. Zevra was shocked, but she also felt that it was reasonable. You're the Dragon Slayer who injured Xing'an. I'm not a Dragon Slayer, but I have killed a few dragons before. Including the one that was invisible, there should be 5 of them. Her eyes widened and she stared at Qin Zhao in disbelief. This man had killed a dragon before. And there were 5 of them. How was this possible? Moreover, it had only been less than 30 seconds. Did he really kill a dragon? You killed Ingli. Melita looked at Qin Zhao, gritting her teeth. Melita, don't worry. Ingli won't be killed that easily. Even the 2 of us won't be able to defeat Ingli that easily. But Ingli's aura has indeed disappeared. Ingli is best at concealment. Father, Mother, let me test him. Suddenly, a colossal dragon, whose entire body shone with a metallic luster, charged out. This was an iron dragon, a metal dragon. His body was practically made of metal, and his defensive power was even close to that of his father, Tugu. Qin Zhao rubbed his nose with a faint smile. Can you give me a minute? Qin Zhao looked at the dragons. What? What can you do in a minute? Run. Or prepare to die. Melita sneered at Qin Zhao. Sainton had been standing at the side, staring at Qin Zhao. He didn't like this feeling. Whether it was his enemies or his companions, they all gave him a bad feeling. Melita kept staring at Qin Zhao. Just like that, Qin Zhao faced the dragon's encirclement. Facing more than a dozen dragons, he stood there without moving. Was he scared out of his wits? It made sense. Anyone would pale in front of such a formation. Even an experienced dragon slayer like her couldn't keep calm, let alone Qin Zhao. The dragons kept their word and didn't attack Qin Zhao. They really wanted to give him a minute. Perhaps to them, this formation couldn't lose. To them, it wasn't a battle anymore. It was a game. It was a game between the predator and the prey. The prey was a dragon slayer. This made them even more excited. They wouldn't be stingy with this minute. They could let the prey enjoy one more minute of despair. It would only make them more happy. Time passed bit by bit. Qin Zhao stood there. He didn't know what he was doing. But to Zafra, every second was torturous. Melita wasn't afraid of death. To her, death was already her fate. Everyone who accepted the identity of a dragon slayer had accepted death. They saw dying in battle as glory. But waiting for death didn't feel good. This kind of waiting stretched out the moment of death. Suddenly, a familiar yet unfamiliar ripple spread across Refra's body. The other dragon clan members also sensed this fluctuation. What did you do? Just like what you did. To prevent you from escaping. Chen Zhao smiled. Ha! Ignorant human, you don't understand what you're doing. Toga laughed. Chen Zhao used a minute to activate the alternate space spell. On the basis of the original alternate dimension, another alternate dimension was added. As long as he didn't die or remove the spell, everyone and the dozen dragons would be trapped in the alternate space. In other words, this place had changed from a one-sided prison to a ring. It was an arena that would not rest until one side was completely annihilated. No one could escape from this arena. Chen Zhao was worried that if the dragons wanted to escape and they removed the alternate space spell, he'd be in the same situation as last time. Chen Zhao didn't like the feeling of being played again. So, he had to put both sides in the same position in this battle. Chen Zhao looked at Melita. Where are my subordinates? Portia's sick. I took her phone and they thought you were my boss. Melita didn't explain further. Portia's only sick. Yes. So she wasn't caught by them. Is that what you mean? Melita nodded. Don't worry. Okay, walk toward me. Just then, the metal dragon's body had already enveloped the sky above Melita. Do you want to save her? Do you think you can do it? You can't do anything. You'll only see your subordinates get crushed in front of you. With that, the metal dragon's huge claws swiped at Melita. Chapter 1968. Just as the metal dragon was about to land, Chen Zhao moved. He shot toward the metal dragon like a bolt of lightning. Suddenly, a huge body blocked Chen Zhao's way. The body was blue and white and was also extremely fast. He was a wind dragon. Of course, he could also be called a storm dragon. Speed was his forte. Among the dragon clan, there were almost no dragons of other attributes that could compete with his speed. However, Chen Zhao wasn't fooling around with them right now. He charged toward the storm dragon. The storm dragon froze instantly. A huge hole appeared in his chest. At the same time, the dragon ball hidden in his chest disappeared too. It wasn't Chen Zhao's first time facing a dragon ball. He knew how to kill a dragon. The moment the metal dragon was about to land its claws, Chen Zhao's fist filled with power brought out a shadow. Boom! Zephyr was prepared to die. But the next moment, she saw the metal dragon suddenly fly out. Its huge body flew hundreds of meters away. Then the storm dragon, who'd been blocking in front of Chen Zhao, collapsed. In Chen Zhao's palm was a blood-stained dragon ball the size of a basketball. Zephyr's mouth gaped open. Disbelief was written all over her face. Was this real? Was what was happening in front of him real? It wasn't just Jevra who was frightened. Even the other dragon clan members were frightened by this. The metal dragon wailed. Mother, save me. Chen Zhao's attack didn't kill him directly, but it was still heavily injured. Melita hurriedly cast a healing spell on the metal dragon. Under Melita's healing magic, the metal dragon was recovering quickly. Sheng En had been hiding in a corner. His expression was terrible. Cui Xin wasn't as confident as before. It happened almost instantaneously. One dead and one heavily injured. If it were her and Sheng En, they probably wouldn't be much better off than the metal dragon and the storm dragon. Chen Zhao stood before Zephyr. Stand where you are. Don't do anything. Don't worry about anything else. Zephyr could feel the pressure from Chen Zhao. The power Chen Zhao had displayed was beyond her understanding. Was this man really human? Or could it be that he was also a dragon in human skin? Avatar, 10,000 techniques return to one, dark assimilation, eye of power, mighty God. After transforming into the mighty miracle god, Chen Zhao realized that the power of the world wasn't affected by the alternate dimension. He could still use it freely. He had been worried that he wouldn't be able to use it in the alternate dimension. In the end, Chen Zhao realized that his worries were unnecessary. She looked at Chen Zhao, who had turned into a giant. In her eyes, this was a very ordinary enhancement spiritualist spell. Gigantism was not a particularly brilliant spell in the field of strengthening. Could Chen Zhao really defeat so many dragons in his current state? There were also the 2 dragon father-level dragons. When Chen Zhao attacked, one died and the other was injured. This made the other dragons feel that today's matter wouldn't be so simple. Human, your strength has won my respect. Tugu suddenly said, I will express my apologies to you in the name of Tugu Omosi Haber. Perhaps we can sit down and talk. I don't need to be respected. It's fear. Chen Zhao attacked. Holy Spirit's protection. Melita immediately released a super powerful holy light spell. All of the dragons were shrouded in a layer of holy light, and there were halos lingering around the dragons. It was as if countless angels were protecting the dragons. Die! Chen Zhao smashed a dragon with a punch. To Chen Zhao's surprise, his attack didn't manage to kill the dragon instantly. In his normal state, he could already kill the storm dragon in one hit. But now, he was at his peak and still couldn't kill the dragon. This holy light spell was really annoying. A dragon's breath tore through the air and hit Chen Zhao directly. But after the dragon's breath, Chen Zhao was unharmed. Chen Zhao evaluated. It seemed that the 5-color dragon's holy light spell didn't just strengthen the dragon's defense. Even their attacks were strengthened. Their attacks also contained the power of holy light. Jevra watched the battle between the 2 sides. This was a battle that she couldn't intervene in. The intensity of the battle was far greater than any of her previous battles. Speaking of which, Zephyr had also participated in a dragon-slaying battle. She'd participated as the main force, planner, and commander. But that battle hadn't been easy. She'd almost lost. But compared to the battle in front of him, the previous battle was more like playing house. After a few minutes of fighting, the 2 separated temporarily and regrouped. Father, Mother, this human is very powerful. Terrifyingly powerful. By now, the other young dragons weren't as confident and arrogant as before. They realized that Chen Zhao's every attack was filled with the intent to kill. If not for their mother's magic protection, at least half of them would be dead by now. Of course, the short battle just now was just a test. Neither side was fighting for real. Tugu's expression wasn't good. What he wanted was to kill an iconic human. He was a powerful and prestigious human being. Not an evenly matched enemy. In fact, if he faced this human alone, he wouldn't have any chance of winning. The direction of this war had begun to break away from his control, his expectations. Sheng En and Cui Xian had been at the periphery the entire time. They didn't even attack. They were also shocked. Was that really a human? Facing a dozen dragons, including 2 father-level dragons, Chen Zhao wasn't at a disadvantage at all. Unexpectedly, he was not at a disadvantage at all. In fact, he even faintly held the upper hand. Melita, take out your trump card. There's no need to hold back. Tugu's tone wasn't arrogant, angry, or smug. There was only calmness. Melita took out a yellow crystal. When Chen Zhao saw the yellow crystal, he immediately thought of the yellow jade immortal abode that Zhang Tianyi had mentioned to him earlier. He didn't know what effect it had. But he was still on guard against Melita with 120% vigilance. After all, it wasn't a power he was familiar with, even if it came from his hometown. Just then, the yellow crystal suddenly shone with yellow light. Then, the yellow light gathered and formed a huge tiger. The tiger's aura wasn't weaker than Melita's and Tugu's. But Qin Zhao felt a trace of demonic aura from the tiger. Was this yellow crystal some monster's internal alchemy? Chapter 1969. The tiger moved suddenly, pouncing at Qin Zhao without any warning. Qin Zhao punched the tiger right in the face. The tiger's body suddenly collapsed. Qin Zhao thought it was just a show. But the next moment, the tiger recovered. It wasn't weakened at all. Was it the yellow crystal that was continuously providing energy to the tiger? It seemed that to deal with the tiger, he had to either deal with Melita or destroy the yellow crystal. Suddenly, Melita felt Qin Zhao's murderous intent. It's coming. It's coming. Qin Zhao turned his target to her. Qin Zhao's speed exploded again. The tiger quickly blocked in front of Qin Zhao, but Qin Zhao shattered it with one strike. The next moment, Qin Zhao appeared before Melita. Melita felt her hair stand on end. Hello. Qin Zhao grinned. Goodbye. A funny thought suddenly appeared in Melita's mind. Did this guy think he could kill her instantly? But Qin Zhao took out the black trident. Without any hesitation, Melita spat out a 5-color dragon breath at Qin Zhao. The dragon breath of a 5-colored dragon was called Magic Flood. It was a terrifying impact filled with surging magic. One strike could even flatten a mountain. Qin Zhao also felt the surging magic power, so he chose to avoid it. It wasn't a wise choice to face the dragon breath that made even his hair stand on end. Qin Zhao fully used his advantage in speed. The next moment, he appeared above Melita's head. Seeing his wife in danger, Tugu roared, "How dare you!" But he was never good at speed. He couldn't save her in time. Qin Zhao's black trident was already stabbing toward Melita's head. The destructive magic penetrated Melita's head, cutting off all the neurons in her brain. The holy light protection couldn't stop the immortal power contained in the black trident. It couldn't stop Qin Zhao's power either. Rumble, Melita's huge body crashed to the ground. There was no sound. You're all going to die today. Die here. Qin Zhao stood on Melita's head, holding the black trident in one hand and the yellow crystal in the other. Murderous intent was written all over his face. The scene was silent. Dead. Melita, a dragon father, had died just like that. With Melita's death, the holy light magic on her child also dissipated. But the impact of Melita's death was far more than that. There was also a psychological impact. Jevra almost suffocated. A human had single-handedly killed a dragon. A dragon of the dragon father level. I'll kill you. Tugu saw his wife being killed in front of him, and immediately fell into madness. His body began to enlarge rapidly. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. Not long after, his body had already transformed into a giant dragon that was 2,000 to 3,000 meters tall. Zephyra and all the dragons present were stunned. Qin Zhao looked at Tugu calmly. Not only had Tugu's body become bigger, even his strength had doubled. However, Qin Zhao wasn't afraid of a competition of strength. Tugu's enormous claw arrived with a loud rumble. Qin Zhao stabbed the black trident at Tugu's claw. The black trident directly penetrated Tugu's dragon claw. Ouch! Tugu felt an intense pain. Along with the pain was the destructive energy that was spreading from his claw to his forelimbs. Qin Zhao pulled forcefully and Tugu's claw was torn apart. Dragon blood splashed onto Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao flew up and stabbed Tugu's abdomen with another stab. Tugu tried his best to free himself. His enormous tail swept across Qin Zhao. As Chen Zhao flew out, he also stabbed at a dragon behind him. That dragon wasn't as powerful as Tu Gu and died on the spot. Tu Gu felt the pain coming from his abdomen almost engulfing his rationality. His originally strong self-healing ability was almost useless now. Chen Zhao bounced off the ground and shot toward Tu Gu again. Both Cui Xin and Xing'an were shocked. The situation was completely out of control now. Cui Xin looked around and suddenly went to Xing'an's side. "Don't make a sound." "What are you doing?" Xing'an asked uneasily. Cui Xin grabbed Xing'an's body and took out a strange disc. Then, she poured magic power into the disc. Gradually, Xing'an felt a wave of magic power wrap around him and Cui Xin. "What's this?" "Don't ask anything," Cui Xin whispered. "Let's go." Xing'an and Cui Xin instantly disappeared. Without anyone noticing, Cui Xin took Xing'an and escaped from the alternate dimension. In the next instant, the two of them appeared on a vast ocean. Where is this? How did we appear here? How did you do it? There are two alternate dimensions sealed there. "I used this, the world compass," Cui Xin said. "It's a divine artifact. It's a part of the Diamond All. It can teleport the user to a random corner of the world. Why didn't you escape with the others? They're dead if they stay there. That human will kill them all, including Tu Gu. The world compass can only teleport the two of us. Are you willing to give up on yourself? Stay there and face that human." Cui Xin said with lingering fear, "I don't want to meet that human again, ever." Fortunately, she didn't tell her people or Xing'an. After all, the world compass needed some time to activate. If the other dragons or Chen Zhao had discovered that they were planning to escape, they would have died. They probably wouldn't be able to leave at all. Chen Zhao and the other dragons also discovered the escaping Xing'an and Cui Xin. But they didn't have the energy to pay attention now. All of their energy was focused on each other. Tu Gu's huge body was pierced by Chen Zhao. His body was huge, but he couldn't gain an advantage in this battle. Instead, he became a burden. Chen Zhao's speed was much faster than him, and his strength was also above him. Chen Zhao also held a killing weapon, the Black Trident. If he relied on Melita's magic while she was still alive, he might still have a chance to counterattack. Perhaps he still had a chance to counterattack, but Melita's death had already caused a hole in their formation. Tu Gu quickly realized that he couldn't do anything. He wanted to escape. After the anger from his wife's death faded, he was only left with the fear of death. He didn't want to die. He didn't want to die here. But if Chen Zhao didn't open the alternate dimension, he had nowhere to run. Of course, it wasn't completely impossible. For example, he could use a powerful force to blast open the alternate dimension. But that wasn't something he could do. Chapter 1970. Tu Gu's huge body collapsed. Chen Zhao hadn't given him the final blow. Right now, Chen Zhao was also a bit tired. The biggest disadvantage of fighting in an alternate dimension was that there was no mana to replenish. In the alternate dimension, Chen Zhao wasn't Superman. Moreover, this alternate dimension was a temporary one. It was created temporarily. When the battle ended or Chen Zhao removed the spell, the alternate dimension would disappear. Chen Zhao also had to maintain the alternate dimension's mana consumption. If it was like the alternate dimension Chen Zhao had created in Minghua Villa, that was a permanent alternate dimension with an entrance to the normal world, so spiritual qi could freely enter and exit that alternate dimension. Chen Zhao's tired face still had a vicious smile. He didn't give Tu Gu any time to beg or threaten. Chen Zhao pierced the black trident into Tu Gu's head. Even if he only pierced the black trident into Tugu's head, it wasn't an easy task. However, Chen Zhao still had to focus. He turned to the remaining dragons. The dragons were scared out of their wits. After all, Chen Zhao's ferocity had exceeded their imagination and understanding. In this battle, they had made a solemn vow at the very beginning, but then they had suffered one blow after another, and now they were almost at the edge of despair. You'll all become part of my collection. Chen Zhao looked at the dragons. The dragons could see Chen Zhao's exhaustion. So, they decided to fight to the death. But reality proved that their thoughts were unnecessary. No matter how hungry a tiger was, it wasn't something a few sheep could defeat. They weren't warriors fighting back, but lambs struggling on the brink of death. Killing them wasn't difficult at all. Of course, it still took some effort. It was finally over. Chen Zhao sat on the ground, panting continuously. Zephyr stood there. She'd forgotten the pain on her body. She was still in a state of shock. A human had killed more than a dozen giant dragons in a single battle. This wasn't a normal battle anymore. It was an epic, a legend. After recovering some energy, Chen Zhao started to clean up the dragons' corpses. Tugu, Melita, and their 12 children. After that, Chen Zhao looked at Zephyr. Zephyr, I'm tired. I won't send you off. With that, Chen Zhao disappeared into the night sky. This battle was basically Chen Zhao's limit. Of course, this was in the alternate dimension. In a normal world, Chen Zhao's stamina would be many times higher. But he didn't gain nothing from this battle. At the very least, the bodies of these dragons and the yellow jade immortal abode were valuable spoils of war. Hey, Fax Ben, good morning. Ruan Fax Ben was still sleeping now. It was only 8 in the morning in Europe. As for the Europeans, 8 o'clock was still their bedtime. Ruan Faxi wanted to scold someone. However, considering that if he were to curse at someone on the phone, the consequences would be very serious. President, it's only 2 or 3 in the morning in Los Angeles. 3:21. What can I do for you? I've killed a dozen more dragons today. Ruan jumped out of bed. President, are you serious? 2 of them seem to be particularly powerful. They're more than twice the size of an ordinary dragon. How should we deal with their bodies? Is there anything special to pay attention to? Keep it first. Don't dismember it completely. Ruan Faxaban said, wait for me to go back. I'll deal with it when I go back. President, those 2 dragons are dragon fathers. They're very rare. Ruan Faxi wasn't interested in ordinary dragons at the moment. But a dragon at the level of a dragon father was unprecedented. There had never been the remains of a dragon father-level dragon wandering outside. Almost all of them were recycled by the dragons themselves. Oh, okay. By the way, what are the attributes of the 2 dragon fathers? One of them is a 5-colored dragon. I don't know about the other one, but he can increase his size by a dozen times. A 5-colored dragon. Boss, this is good stuff. Is the body of the 5-colored dragon still intact? Other than the hole I made in her head, everything else is relatively intact. That's good, that's good. Are 5-colored dragons very rare? It's not just rare. It's said that among the dragon clan, the 5-colored dragons will only choose a giant dragon with the potential of a dragon king as their partner. Then didn't I kill the future dragon king and queen? By the way, I wiped out their entire family. Does that mean I have a huge grudge against the dragon clan? This potential isn't unique, so there's no such thing as killing the future dragon king and queen. That's good. If the dragon clan comes out in full force, I'm really not confident. To be honest, just dealing with a dragon clan family was already exhausting for Chen Zhao. If there were more dragons, Chen Zhao would probably kneel too. Of course, this battle also made Chen Zhao realize his own strength. He was far from being invincible. There were still people or creatures that could threaten him in this world. If there had been another dragon father in the battle just now, Chen Zhao might have been the one kneeling. Other than the two dragon fathers, what other attributes are there? A black dragon, a demon dragon, a wind dragon. Chen Zhao counted. I can't tell the others apart. Ruan Faxben couldn't help but admire Chen Zhao. There were more than 10 dragons, including 2 dragon fathers. The spoils were too rich. Don't dismember the demon dragon either. It's a good raw material for a humorous dragon. You can leave it for Hellies. Oh, I don't think I should dismember the bodies of the dragons, Chen Zhao said. Otherwise, it'll be a waste. Let's decide after you all come back. Hellies won't be that fast now. It'll probably take at least a decade to successfully create a humorous dragon. Is it because of the difference in strength or lack of materials? Both. How's Axianli these days? She's in good shape. We found a new clue, Ruan Faxben said. Actually, he didn't think they could get anything. The legendary golden apple really wasn't easy to find. But before Axianli got completely bored, he could only be Chen Zhao's babysitter. Right now, he wanted to grow a pair of wings and fly back to study Chen Zhao's spoils. But if he did that, even if he grew wings, Chen Zhao would pluck them out. Take care of Axianli. I'll wait for you at the finish line. Finish line. President. What do you mean? Don't hang up. Hey. Chapter 1971. Chen Zhao had already gotten the exact location of the golden apple tree from the 23rd Blood Mary. Even the precise coordinates were already known. However, Chen Zhao still hoped that Axianli could find it with her own power. After returning to Mingyue Villa, Chen Zhao started playing with the yellow crystal, the so-called yellow jade divine residence. He sent his immortal power in and the residence started glowing yellow. However, he couldn't turn the yellow light into a tiger like Melita. Just from the name, it was yellow jade divine residence. Chen Zhao also used immortal power, so their powers should be very compatible. However, Melita was a dragon and she used magic power, not immortal power. Since she could use it, it meant that he didn't have to use immortal power to open the residence. It seemed that there was a trick to using it. However, he didn't understand it yet. Hey, old Zhang, do you know how to use that yellow jade divine residence? Don't tell me that you got it. You killed all those evil dragons. I'll ask first, Chen Zhao denied directly. In case I don't know how to use it when I get it. You really got it. Did you kill all those evil dragons? Chen Zhao pursed his lips. Do you know how to use it or not? Are Melita and Tuga dead? Zhang Tianyi was very excited, as if he hadn't heard Chen Zhao's question. Old Zhang, there's something wrong with your mood. Are you hiding something from me? No, why would I hide anything from you? Ha, Zhang Tianyi's happiness was beyond words. Chen Zhao could feel Zhang Tianyi's emotions even if he was deaf. I'm sorry to tell you, Chen Zhao said. I only injured 2 of them and they ran away. I only killed a few dragon babies. Zhang Tianyi's laughter stopped. What did you say? They ran away. How could you be so careless? Why didn't you stop them? Even if only one survived, what's the point of killing a few dragon babies? Zhang Tianyi cursed. Do you think I can stop them just because I say so? Don't you know how strong they are? They must be seriously injured now. It's good for you to chase after them. Oh right, which direction did they escape to? Maybe we'll find some clues along the way. Let's catch up to them and kill them while they're seriously injured. Zhang Tianyi felt hopeful again. Tell me first, why are you so excited? Do you hate them for killing your father and stealing your wife? Get lost, am I that vulgar? Then tell me a reason. Zhang Tianyi licked his lips. The son of the current Dragon King is their competitor. Back then, I tricked them into entering Huaxia. Originally, I wanted to use the power of Huaxia's supernatural world to kill them both. You shameless old fox, Chen Zhao cursed. You've lowered the moral bottom line of humans, he said. I'm ashamed to know you. The Dragon King of the Dragon Clan promised me in private that if I could kill Tugu and Melita, he would give me an elemental fruit. What's that? It can allow creatures other than humans to evolve into elemental attributes. If it's a demon beast that has gained intelligence, it can develop a second attribute. In any case, it's for beasts to eat. You're a living person. What do you want that for? Could it be that you're a mixed blood, a half-human half-demon like in the movies? Get lost. If you want to call me a bastard, just do it. Do you think I can't hear you beating around the bush? Okay, I'm just curious. Our Longhu Mountain has a spirit beast that guards the mountain. It's only half a step away from the Shangqing state and has been guarding the mountain gate for 500 years. Since it has done a great job guarding the mountain gate, I thought of giving it an elemental fruit because we don't have anything to reward it with. So it's useful even for beasts. That's what the Dragon King said. Help me get 3. You can take 1 and leave. I'll chase after them until I die. You think it's dragon fruit? You can buy a dozen at the supermarket for $100. I'll try. There's no harm in it. Didn't you just call me despicable and shameless? People always say one thing but mean another. You even said I lowered the moral bottom line of humans. Let's not talk about the first. You're also a bastard who forgets morality for benefits. Cut the crap. Are you doing it or not? I say, did Tugu and Melita really escape? If he escapes, he'll die. In any case, it's up to you and me to say it. If the Dragon King wants his son to inherit the throne, he'll have to take the bait. The Dragon King isn't easy to deal with. I'm taking a big risk. Risk your fucking mouth. I'm risking my life here. How dare you say it's risky? If you don't want it, I'll find someone else. Don't contact me again, you shameless old man. We're done. You. Fucking, do you still want the method to activate the Yellow Jade Divine Mansion? I've scolded too much. Let's get down to business. Give me the method to use the Yellow Jade Divine Mansion. I don't have it now. Fuck, are you messing with me? I said I don't have it now, but that doesn't mean I can't get it. How long? I'll go to Qingqing Mountain and find an excuse to walk around their library. Then I'll get it. Why should I let you take a look around his library? Are you shameless? I am. You don't like it? Speaking of which, give me Tugu and Melita's heads. Otherwise, people won't believe me without proof. Don't even think about it, Chen Zhao said. If you want their heads, give me something of equal value. Zhang Tianyi said he wanted Tugu and Melita's heads as proof. Chen Zhao wouldn't fall for it easily. There were so many things that could be used as proof. Why did he need heads? Then I'll give you 1,000-year-old red spirit whitethroat. What do you think? Chen Zhao didn't know what red spirit whitethroat was, but it sounded powerful. But Chen Zhao refused. No, I plan on turning them into puppets. What kind of puppet are you making? You don't practice puppet techniques at all. I don't, but my subordinates do. The value of 2 complete dragon bodies can't be compared to regular items. Then I'll use Red Spirit Whitethroat to trade for a dragon horn. Melita's dragon horn, just one is enough. Seriously, don't you feel any guilt towards Tugu and Melita? Guilt my ass. Those two are the most anti-human in the dragon race. It's not too much to do anything to them. If Tugu really becomes the Dragon King, it'll really be a world war. Who's going to die if not them? I lose in terms of shamelessness. I know it's cold-blooded for the headquarters to do this, but... No, I'm not blaming the headquarters or the higher-ups. They didn't do anything wrong. I just realized that my horizons are too narrow. There are more powerful people in this world, and today, I witnessed a legendary battle, Zivla said calmly. What are you talking about? Could it be the 23rd generation Blood Mary of the Scarlet Church? Or Celestial Master Zhang from Mount Longhu? Did they intervene in the dragon gathering? None of them. I dare say that the person is more powerful than the two of them. That person killed all the dragons, a total of 14, including the 2 dragon fathers. That's impossible. Even the 23rd generation Blood Mary or Celestial Master Zhang would not be able to do that. That's why I said that our vision is too narrow. Zephyr said, I should go. Goodbye. Keep the weapons and equipment as a souvenir for me. When Zephyr returned home, she saw Portia lying on the sofa. The television in the living room was still on. Portia heard the sound of Zephyr entering the door and sat up. She looked at Zephyr, who was covered in dirt. Zephyr, you're like this again. Do you want to call a doctor? Or the police? No need. Then I'll call the boss tomorrow to take a look. I'll go with you to see your boss tomorrow. Why are you going to see my boss? I met some bad guys on the way. Your boss happened to pass by and helped me beat them away. I see. Portia nodded. Where's my phone? Zephyr took out a pile of broken pieces. I accidentally broke it. Portia was speechless. It doesn't look like it's broken. I'll pay you another one tomorrow. The SIM card is not broken. It can still be used. Zephyr's face was calm. This made Portia, who had been anxious the whole night, feel her anger disappear. Go wash up. I'll prepare something for you to eat. No need. I'll wash up and then go to bed. Sleep. You said you want to sleep. What's wrong? Is there a problem? Portia kept staring at Zephyr. Could this guy be an imposter? However, Zephyr did not care about Portia's thoughts. She turned around and went into the bathroom. Help me get my pajamas. The next day, when Portia woke up, she found that Zephyr had also woken up. Zephyr, you only slept for a few hours last night. Is it really enough? It's enough. How is your body? Zephyr went forward and reached out to touch Portia's forehead. Yes, the fever has gone down. Portia felt like she was being taken care of like a child in front of Zephyr. Do you really want to go with me to see my boss? Yes, I need to thank him personally. All right then. Our boss doesn't seem like a good person. It's rare for him to do something good. Zephyr was already used to Portia mocking her boss behind his back. After a good night's sleep, Zephyr looked even more energetic. Although she was injured again last night, after a good night's sleep, Zephyr's body and mind had recovered a lot. Even though it was Zephyr's first day on the job and she was injured. But Portia still wanted Zafra to feel the horror of these children and the pain she had suffered in the past. Although Zafra was young, she was no worse than Portia when it came to housework. Just then, there was a call from the housekeeping system. Zafra was about to pick it up when she realized that Chen Zhao had returned. "Hey, West." Chen Zhao was drying his hair with a towel. "How's the past 2 days?" "It's not going well," West said. "We're in trouble," West said. "The situation here is more serious than we imagined. This is no longer a battle, but a war." Zafra stood not far away, listening to Chen Zhao and West's conversation. Chen Zhao did not turn on the speaker, but Zafra could still hear West's voice. After all, Zafra was a former dragon slayer. Her senses and reactions were far superior to normal people. With her hearing alone, even in a noisy environment, she could hear people's conversations from a few meters away, not to mention indoors. "Do you need me to help?" "President, you know that I can't accept it." This was West's insistence. If Chen Zhao came, all their previous efforts would be for nothing. Chen Zhao was too powerful. He heard from Ruan Fazaban's call today. Chen Zhao had killed another 12 dragons last night. If Chen Zhao participated in this battle between the natural and the unnatural, he would not be able to survive. Then the situation would be reversed in an instant. There was no suspense at all. West didn't bring the members of the association to carry out the Scarlet mission for the reward. It was for the training of the association members. He felt that this kind of serious situation and pressure was what the members of the association should be facing. "Guild leader, I know what you want to say." West talked to Chen Zhao once a day. Although it was to report on the progress of the mission, it was more like to ensure his safety. Chen Zhao's calls always ended with one sentence: "If there's any danger, call him immediately." "All right, I won't repeat it. Be careful." After hanging up, Chen Zhao looked at Thera. "You and Portia stay at home and help me take care of the kids. I'll be out for 2 hours." "Yes, sir." "Boss." Revla had gradually adapted to this job. It had to be said that her adaptability was very strong. This was also an ability cultivated by his previous identity. Chen Zhao drove to the headquarters. Right now, there were 4 people in the headquarters: Aduz, Nelly Wanlancy, Jigs, and Maev. A few days ago, Chen Zhao had heard that Maev had awakened magic and had a special bloodline. It was normal for people like Maev to awaken magic or a special bloodline after being strongly stimulated. She should be a first or second night awakener. However, she'd been pretending to be dead at the time. Everyone thought that she was in a coma or in self-isolation, but she'd actually woken up. This was why no one had noticed her night of awakening. Because she'd been in the association's headquarters, she'd been killed by the members of the association and the evil spirit group during the night of awakening. Everyone had even forgotten that it was the night of awakening. Sometimes, when one's power reached a certain level, this kind of attack couldn't even be considered an attack anymore. The only one who could truly pressure the members of the association was probably Third Night. There were already a few people in the association who could face the Third Night alone. Chapter 1974. "Hey, Adonis, Ziggs." As soon as Chen Zhao arrived, he saw Aduz and Jigs fishing by the lake. "Gigs, you really don't look like you should be sitting by the lake fishing." Gigs was only in his early 30s. In Chen Zhao's impression, fishing was something people around Aduz's age would do. Gigs had told him that he had a company that did the import and export of agricultural products. It was not a small scale and the company's annual profit was about $50 million. This was already the scale of a large company. He seemed to be a little disheartened now. He didn't care about the company anymore and just stayed at the association's headquarters all day. Chen Zhao didn't mind having another pair of chopsticks in the headquarters. But he still felt that Giggs should pull himself together. President, are you saying that I'm old? Aduz looked at Chen Zhao. Fine, I misspoke. Chen Zhao shrugged. Where are Miss Neri and Miss Maev? Ever since Maev awakened, he's been practicing magic all day with Miss Neri. Jig's face was full of resentment. Mr. Chen, can I awaken too? I can't help you with that. My wife is also a normal person, Chen Zhao said helplessly. But I can make your body better. This is for you. Chen Zhao tossed a strengthening potion to Jiggs. We have a few members who haven't awakened their magic power. They're no weaker than spiritualists. Actually, Chen Zhao could understand Gig's pain. He blamed himself for being weak and powerless. And now, even his wife, who had been hurt in the past, was becoming stronger. She didn't even need his protection anymore. On the contrary, he was the one who needed protection the most. That was why he had become so decadent. No matter how much money he could make, it couldn't make up for this sense of loss. Aside from me, Adu said. Mr. Chen, can you train me? There are people in the association who are more professional than me, such as Gaia and Klaus. They are better than me in this aspect, and I'm not suitable to train you. Just then, Nelly Wenlancy and Maev walked over. Mr. Chen, the two greeted. Mr. Chen, I want you to take a look at my magic. I don't know much about other systems of magic. I just want to see how effective magic is in actual combat. To be honest, Chen Zhao was more willing to let her husband, Jiggs, take care of this. Instead of asking an outsider like him to come. Mr. Chen, Jiggs said. Maev doesn't have anyone to teach him. Please help him. All right then. We better back off, Nelly Wenlancy said. Maev's magic is very powerful. Is this enough? Aduz asked. Not enough, Nelly Wenlancy said. Maev's spell has a large range. By this time, they had already retreated 50 meters away. Nelly Wenlancy didn't stop until she was 100 meters away. This should be a safe distance, Nelly said. Chen Zhao faced Maev. Maev, you can start now. I can attack however I want. Since it's a test of magic, you can start with the weaker ones. Yes, I understand. Maev nodded. After Maev reminded her, she started to attack. Her attacks did not have complex magic incantations or time to prepare. Instead, they were instant. She only needed to open her mouth to attack. Ah! Maev screamed. Chen Zhao was shocked at first, thinking that something had happened to Maev. But very soon, he realized that Maev's screams were magic attacks. There was no trace of the sound. It was just an invisible sound wave. Chen Zhao felt something hit his body. Even his ears felt pressurized. The sound wave attack was not strong, but it was not disintegrated by Chen Zhao's non-elemental body. The effect was minuscule, but it was indeed effective on Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao immediately understood. The sound wave attack looked like a magic attack, but it was actually a physical attack. This was because sound had to be transmitted through a medium. It was a physical transmission method. Chen Zhao's non-elemental body was only effective against magic attacks. Also, Chen Zhao remembered that apart from physical attacks, sound was also the strongest attack on eardrums. Mr. Chen, how's my magic? Not bad, but not enough. You can try to increase its power. Is it group or individual? You seem to be good at studying it alone, Chen Zhao said in surprise. There are actually group and individual attacks. Let's try individual attacks first. Maeve took 2 more steps back and opened her mouth again. But this time, she did not make a loud sound. Instead, it was very soft. But to Chen Zhao, the sound was very ear-piercing. Even Chen Zhao could not help but grit his teeth and cover his ears with his hands. However, the sound was too penetrating. Chen Zhao's hands were actually useless. Just then, Chen Zhao thought of an idea. He could directly control the spiritual qi in the world and expel all the air in his ears, turning his ears into a vacuum. As expected, without air as a medium, the sound lost its effect. After Maeve stopped attacking, Chen Zhao's ears were finally filled with air again. Chen Zhao gave her a thumbs up. Amazing. Your magic is very strong. Really? Not many people can make me uncomfortable, Chen Zhao said. This is a high-frequency sound, right? Yes. Then let me see group attacks. Maeve opened his mouth again, and this time, it was a loud and clear scream. Ah! With Maeve as the center, the sound wave instantly exploded and spread in all directions. Chen Zhao gasped. So powerful. The impact was not very powerful, but the range was very large. Maeve could at least kill people within a 50-meter radius. Of course, the power of this attack range was nothing to write home about. Against a normal person, she could kill them instantly within this attack range. But it was not enough against a spiritualist. Maeve, your attack range is large enough, but it's not powerful enough. Do you have any suggestions for my magic? You've already reached a very high standard for individual attacks. If a spiritualist faces you for the first time, it'll be difficult for them to defend against your full power attack. As for group attacks, you need to modify them further. The range is important, but the power is barely satisfactory. If you want to improve, you need to modify group attacks first. Reduce the range appropriately and ensure the power of the attack. Chapter 1975. At first, Portia didn't want Zephyr to become Chen Zhao's personal assistant. But after Chen Zhao left, she suddenly realized that it was pretty good. Zephyr worked really hard. She wouldn't complain at all. She could just lie down and rest. Zephyr was more professional than her. In the Bright Moon Mountain Manor, he could do anything. Miss Portia, you better get up and work, the butler system reminded her. Your boss, my master, is on his way back. Portia jumped up like a startled bird. She had a nervous reaction to Chen Zhao now. She would react when she heard his name. But Portia quickly realized that Chen Zhao was still on his way. Why did she react so much? Portia slumped back onto the sofa. Comfortable. Comfortable. Ah. Portia jumped up from the sofa. Chen Zhao put his hands in his pockets and smiled at Portia. Looks like you always work like this when I'm not here. Really? No, it's not like that. Zephyr finished everything today, so I took a break. Really? Why is Zephyr still working? Is this finished? Boss, didn't the butler say you were still on your way? Liar, he's a liar. Miss Portia, when I said Master was on his way, I meant he was on his way in. Maybe I should change my expression. There's no need to change it. I think this expression suits my interests very well. Boss. Zephyr came over. Boss, I'll go prepare lunch now. You don't have to be in charge of lunch. Zephyr, boss has a magical chef who never shows his face. As long as we don't enter the kitchen, lunch and dinner will be prepared automatically and then disappear. Portia had learned her lesson and knew that she couldn't find Chen Zhao. Once, she sensed that someone was cooking in the kitchen, so she ran into the kitchen. But she didn't see anyone. There was indeed something cooking in the pot. Then Chen Zhao forced her into the kitchen and she took over his work. Since then, Portia had completely lost interest in it. She didn't disturb the mysterious chef anymore. Zephyr looked at Chen Zhao curiously. Portia, have you heard the story of the conch girl? Never heard of it. A long time ago, a young man picked up a field snail and kept it in his basin. The field snail became the field snail lady. Every time the young man went out to farm, the field snail lady would help him with the housework, cooking and washing. Portia rolled her eyes. Boss, are you trying to tell me that you have a conch girl in your house? You can understand it that way. As if I'd believe you. Although Zephyr didn't believe in conch girls either. However, she knew that it was definitely a supernatural force. After all, Chen Zhao was a powerful spiritualist. So it wouldn't be strange for some kind of supernatural power to appear in his house. Just as Portia had said, Chen Zhao had them go to the kitchen to bring out the dishes at midnight. Revra found that there were holes less than 60 centimeters in the walls of the house, including the kitchen. These holes should be for some very small creatures to enter and exit. They should be some short, psychic supernatural creatures. Portia had been working here for more than 2 months and hadn't found a single clue. In less than half a day, Revra had already figured out what was going on. Of course, this also had to do with the unequal information they had. After lunch, Portia and Revra sent the dishes to the kitchen and could finally rest. Chen Zhao forced all the kids to take a nap. This was Chen Zhao's strict requirement and couldn't be disobeyed. Some kids tried to resist. Then, Chen Zhao would give them a Banshee's Charm combo and let them sleep until the end of time. As time went by, no kid refused to take a nap anymore. Revra and Portia chatted in the yard, enjoying the sunlight while enjoying the sea breeze. Chen Zhao took some drinks, beer, and snacks and sat beside them. Revra, what happened to your original job? I quit. Won't your company cause trouble for you? I completed a certain amount of work, Revra said calmly. No one will. Boss, Revra, are you guys trying to imply something? Revra used to be an assassin in an assassin organization. She got tired of her life and decided to give up on it. She wants to live like a normal person. Revra also came into contact with the secrets of the assassin organization, so she's worried that the organization will send assassins to kill her. Is that right? Yes. Chen Zhao nodded. Ha! Am I right? Portia jumped up, but when she saw Chen Zhao and Revra's mocking smiles, she realized that she'd been tricked again. Just then, Chen Zhao's phone rang again. Chen Zhao returned to his room to answer. Zhang, how did it go? The Dragon King agreed, but he asked for Tugu's heart as evidence. Don't tell me you want it yourself, you old fox. We have to have the most basic trust between us. Do you know that it hurts me to hear you say that? Stop bullshitting. Did you get the manual for the Yellow Jade Divine Residence? No. Do you think Qingqing Mountain's library is a library? Even if it's a library, you need a library card. You said it's easy. Chen Zhao and Zhang Tianyi called. Every time, it was just bullshitting and trash talking. Both sides were still enjoying it. By the way, Chen Zhao, why don't we work together to take care of those heaven-piercing problems? I'll contact them and you'll do the work. We'll split the benefits. You'll get as far away from me as you can get. Don't be unhappy. My connections are all worth tens of thousands of gold coins. I can't be bothered with you. Call me after you know how to use the Yellow Jade Divine Residence. Don't call me randomly. International calls are really expensive. By the way, Chen Zhao, you really don't want to come back. Go back for what? After all, China is the most supernatural region. There are more masters. If you come back, you'll be able to meet more spiritualists. The atmosphere here will be different. I like the feeling of a monkey being king when there's no tiger in the mountain. I can do whatever I want in America. Why would I go to a place full of competition? Chen Zhao's words revealed his lack of ambition. Then it's good to come back and participate in some small activities. After all, whether it's the East or the West, constitutionalism emphasizes communication. Everyone takes what they need and complements each other's weaknesses. I realize that every time we talk, you'll ask me to come back. Are you thinking of some shady business again? Chapter 1976. You're talking about me as if I'm some big bad guy. You've done such a thing before. You tricked 2 dragons into coming to our country and almost killed them. You'll never be able to clear your name from this dark history. Yes, I've done such a thing before. But look at who they are. We're not that close. Don't call us brothers. I don't know you that well, and I really don't have any confidence in your character. You've hurt my heart. I thought we were friends despite the difference in age. Stop bullshitting. That Dragon King wants Tugu's heart. He doesn't want Melita's heart. It's Tugu who's competing with his son for the throne, not his wife. How can we give it to him? Don't worry. He'll think it's too easy if we're in such a hurry. What's there to be afraid of? If he dares to go back on his word, we'll just expose it and say that he sent people to kill Tugu. As long as he still has some dignity, he'll have to consider the consequences. You're no less shameless than me. Zhang Tianyi sighed. By the way, how strong is the Dragon King? Very powerful. I don't know the specifics. After all, he's lived for almost 3,000 years. How long can this old monster live? Not long. He'll die within 100 years. Otherwise, he wouldn't be looking for an heir. Zhang Tianyi said, and at his age, he basically doesn't dare to fight with others. Every time he fights, his lifespan will be shortened by a few years. Why is that? Will fighting reduce his lifespan? You were full of vigor at that age. Even if you fought with your life on the line every day, you could still recover quickly. However, people who have reached the limit of their lifespan have to use their own strength to sustain their lives, just like the 23rd generation. Normally, she should have died 5 years ago because she relied on her own strength to break through the limit of her lifespan. It's the same for the Dragon King. Old Zhang, you won't tell others that I have the stone, will you? Do you think I'm a gossiper? Don't forget, when you learned about the origin stone from me, you immediately told the 23rd generation about it. I'm old friends with the 23rd generation. I have nothing to do with the Dragon King. For the dragon race, they never had to worry about humans. They had always been the dominant party in their dealings with the humans. Humans only knew how to back down, and back down. Every single one of them is a nuclear bomb. Perhaps the humans had more nukes than their population. However, if humans were to use nuclear weapons, they would basically be harming the enemy while harming themselves. All the dragons had to do was hide in a human city. It was unknown whether or not the humans' nuclear bombs could kill the dragons, but the humans themselves would definitely be the first to suffer. Therefore, unless it was an all-out war, humans would definitely be at a disadvantage. At least, that was what Trish and Saint and thought in the past. But in that battle, they had personally witnessed that terrifying face. He laughed and killed all the dragons. Now, they were back in Los Angeles. After a few days, the two of them returned. Xing and those treasures will not disappear even if they are buried underground for a few years. There is no need to go back now. Cui Xin was very dissatisfied. In her opinion, it was too dangerous if that human found out. They didn't even have the chance to struggle. Deep in their hearts, they had already been branded with a deep fear by that human. If it wasn't necessary, they definitely wouldn't return here. But Xing An's greed for the treasures won over his desires. Cui Xin also didn't want to see Xing An die here. At least, she had the world compass. If they encountered that man, they would only need to delay him for 3 minutes and they would be able to escape. The world compass was an extremely powerful divine artifact. Even if it couldn't be used anytime and anywhere, one couldn't deny its power. Moreover, it was just a part. It wasn't a real divine artifact. Cui Xin's goal was to complete the divine artifact. To achieve the final, perfect form. And before getting the diamond all from Xing An, he couldn't die. Therefore, she had to accompany Xing An back to Los Angeles. Of course, they had made preparations before coming. They had thought of a way to fool the Dragon Slayer's monitoring device. They had even changed their appearance. Cui Xin and Xing An carefully returned to the manor. There were no changes in the manor. It was as if nothing had happened. After all, the battle had been in an alternate dimension, so it didn't affect the real world. Cui Xin and Xing An were still worried that Qin Zhao or the other Dragon Slayers had set up some device here. Therefore, they were even more careful. They observed outside the manor for half a day until the sun set. After confirming that there was no one in the manor, Xing An and Cui Xin entered. Xing An quickly entered the study and operated the mechanism on the wall. Only then did he open a secret passage in the wall. Just remove the wall. Why do you have to be so troublesome? Cui Xin said impatiently. The mechanisms here are all connected. So what? Could it be that your traps here can harm me? Or you? No. Then why are you wasting time? The mechanisms here can't hurt us, but they can destroy the treasures here. Cui Xin glanced at Xing An, dissatisfied. But Xing An didn't care at all. There was only his treasure in his heart. His passion and greed for treasures surpassed everything else. Wait for me here. Don't follow me for the rest of the way, Xing An said in the narrow secret passage. Scrooge, are you afraid that I'll steal your treasures? I'm only interested in the Caltra ball, Cui Xin said unhappily. But Xing An was very firm. If Cui Xin questioned whether she wanted to follow him, Xing An might fight her. If they attracted the attention of that human, then both of them would be dead. Cui Xin didn't want to force Xing An too much. Xing An walked forward alone until he disappeared into the darkness. Xing An's treasures were hidden very well. He'd also set up a special barrier around them. If anyone tried to rob him of his treasures, the treasures would be directly sent into a different dimension. Xing An came to the treasure room. It was about 100 square meters, but there were large amounts of gold, silver, gems, and all kinds of art inside. Xing An let out a long sigh. His eyes became misty. Every time he saw his 400 years of accumulation, Xing An would sink into it. It had almost become his weakness. It was a desire that was crazier and greedier than others. When he faced the treasures, he had no way to resist. Chapter 1977. His head partially turned into a dragon, then he opened his mouth and began to suck. All the treasures were sucked into his mouth. His magic was to shrink, and not only himself, but other objects could also be shrunk. In fact, shrinking objects was much easier than shrinking oneself. Xing An quickly swept away all the treasures and collections here. All the treasures were hidden in one of his dragon teeth. Only then did Xing'an walk out of the treasure room with satisfaction. Cui Xian was already impatient. When Xing'an came out, Cui Xian didn't give him a good look. "We can go now," Xing'an said with satisfaction. "When will you give it to me?" Cui Xian didn't want to act with Xing'an. He was too unsafe, and with his greedy personality, he would expose them sooner or later. So Cui Xian couldn't wait to escape from Xing'an's side. He was a time bomb, and they didn't even know when he would blow them to pieces. "I want you to take me to Treasure Island," Xing'an said. "Impossible, I will only tell you the location of Treasure Island, then you give me the caltrip cone, and we won't owe each other anything." "How do I know if the location you said is true or false?" "I don't believe you." Just as Cui Xian didn't trust and hate Xing'an, Xing'an didn't trust Cui Xian either. "I don't have to lie to you. Maybe you don't even know the location of Treasure Island, and you're lying to me." Xing'an's suspicions weren't superfluous. With Cui Xian's nature, she was likely to make up the location of Treasure Island for him. This was all possible. Cui Xian was annoyed. "Anyway, I won't go to Treasure Island again." "Why?" "Anyway, can't you just take me to Treasure Island and then come out? There is a big snake on Treasure Island, and my world compass was taken from it. If I return to Treasure Island, it will never let me leave so easily. Can't you beat that big snake? If I say that big snake is Jormungandr, would you believe it?" Cui Xian's expression was extremely solemn. "You must be joking, that's just a legend." Xing'an's expression also changed slightly. "To humans, we are also legends." Cui Xian looked at Saint An and said, "But I really saw it. The head of that giant snake came out of the dark clouds. Its head was even bigger than my body. If it wasn't Jormungandr, I can't think of anyone else with such a huge body." In Norse mythology, Jormungandr, a monster that perished together with Thor, the god of thunder. One of the three gods of destruction born to the evil god Loki and the female giant Angrboda. The evil god Loki and the female giant Angrboda had 3 children together. The eldest was the demon wolf Fenrir, the youngest was the goddess of death, Hel, and the second was Jormungandr. Jormungandr and Thor could be said to be fated enemies. They had fought many times in their lives, and in the end, both of them perished together. Jormungandr's head and tail could circle the world, so it was also called the world snake, and it also symbolized eternity. Also, I saw an upside-down palace in the sky. I suspect that the palace is the Odin race's palace, Asgard. I still don't believe it. It's just a legend. Even the dragons couldn't confirm if the Odin race really existed or if it was just a legend. I don't care if you believe it or not. Anyway, I won't go back to Treasure Island and face that terrifying snake. You have the world compass. You can escape at any time. I stole the world compass from Jormungandr. Do you think it'll work on him?" Cui Xian sneered. Cui Xian tried to explain, but Saint An was still firm. Both sides fell into a stalemate. Neither was willing to take a step back. To Cui Xian, Treasure Island was also a nightmare. It was the same as asking her to walk around Qin Zhao's house. Would Qin Zhao talk to her about life and ideals? He would probably only treat her as a trophy. Hang her head in front of his house. "If that's the case, let's go our separate ways," Saint An said. Cui Xian was furious. She criticized Saint An. "Are you breaking up with me?" "Breaking up? Not really. I just want to protect my interests." "You're full of lies." "I definitely won't believe a liar." Cui Xian took a deep breath and calmed herself down. "Do you know where I got the information about Treasure Island?" "Come on. Make up a new lie." "I got the information from my father," Cui Xian said. It's a nightmare that has tortured him his entire life. Saint then sneered at Cui Xin. A patricide actually has the face to mention your father. I'm helping him escape, Cui Xin said coldly. Don't make patricide sound so noble. Forget it. I don't want to continue this topic. Cui Xin didn't want to talk about it either. Patricide wasn't an easy crime for her. After all, she'd received the title of the most evil dragon because of it. Even among the dragons, patricide was a huge crime. There's indeed no need for us to continue talking. You'll regret it. Cui Xin's cold eyes stared at Saint Hen. Since I've already been charged with patricide, I don't mind being charged with killing my brother. You want to fight me? Are you sure you want to fight me here? Saint Hen sneered at Cui Xin. He knew how afraid Cui Xin was of death and Chen Zhao. If they fought here, they would be too close to Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao would definitely notice the shockwaves from their battle. Cui Xin obviously wouldn't fight here. She just turned around and left silently. She was good at being cunning and sinister. These were all things she had learned from human beings. To achieve her goals, she could do even more outrageous things. Saint Hen just wanted to leave with his treasures and collections. The siblings parted ways just like that. They didn't get along, but they had a common thought. Even if they had to fight to the death, they couldn't do it in L.A. Chapter 1978. Cui Xin turned to look beside her. It was a white-haired Asian old man with a goatee. The Asian old man was looking at him with a lecherous gaze. Cui Xin's expression darkened. She raised her hand to slap the old man. Of course, if this slap landed on her face, it wouldn't just be one slap. Junshan Daoist technique, borrowing the power of heaven and earth, freeze. Zhang Tianyi grinned. Little girl, did you want to kill me just now? Cui Xin's raised arm suddenly felt like it was filled with cement. She couldn't move at all. This made her realize that the old man in front of her wasn't as simple as he seemed. Cui Xin immediately turned to leave. But she soon realized that her feet also felt like they were filled with lead. After trying a few times, Cui Xin realized that she couldn't remove the freeze curse at all. She didn't expect to be so unlucky. She used a random teleportation and actually teleported to the side of an expert. Little girl, do you know that this is China? If you use magic casually here, you'll be spanked. Slap, aw, you dare hit me. Cui Xin glared at Zhang Tianyi angrily. I'm hitting you. So what if you're a dragon? Zhang Tianyi hit her again. Looking at his face, he seemed to be enjoying it. You know I'm a dragon. With my fiery eyes, no matter what kind of monster you are, I can see you. Zhang Tianyi's eyes stared at Cui Xin's chest. Let go of me, or I'll show my true form. Cui Xin didn't expect to be so unlucky. She'd long heard that China was the most active place in the supernatural world. In the past, she thought it was nothing special. Now, she truly believed that she could meet such a hidden expert on the streets. If she knew that the person in front of her was the world's #1 in the supernatural world, how would she feel? True form. Why don't you show me? Zhang Tianyi sneered at Cui Xin. If you want to be steamed, just show your true form. Ask your Dragon King if he dares to show his true form in China. How dare a little loach like you act so presumptuously in front of me? Although they were in the downtown area, Zhang Tianyi was confident that he could kill Cui Xin before she went berserk. Especially when Cui Xin was still under his spell. You dare kill me? My clan will definitely not let you off. Cui Xin threatened. Zhang Tianyi jumped up and slapped the back of Cui Xin's head. Aren't you going to let me go? Come on, won't you let me go? Come on. Zhang Tianyi was completely unconvinced by Cui Xin's threats. I'm over 100 years old, what haven't I seen? That's enough. I'm a member of the dragon race after all. Are you a space dragon? No, after the death of the last space dragon, there hasn't been a space dragon in the dragon clan for more than 1,000 years. If you are a space dragon, then the dragon clan would have already made a big fuss about it. But how can you suddenly appear here? Could it be some kind of magical treasure? Zhang Tianyi looked at Cui Xin up and down. Spatial magic. Or some kind of magic treasure or divine artifact. Cui Xin's heart tightened. Zhang Tianyi immediately smiled. It seems to be a spatial treasure. Zhang Tianyi snapped his fingers, and Cui Xin immediately felt the spell on her body being released. Come back to the mountain with me. Cui Xin was still standing in the same place, staring at Zhang Tianyi warily. Zhang Tianyi turned his head and looked at Cui Xin, who was standing still. You want to snatch my divine artifact? Zhang Tianyi laughed. I'm not interested in spatial divine artifacts. Why? Cui Xin didn't believe that there would be someone who wouldn't be tempted in the face of a divine artifact. Although I haven't used a spatial type divine artifact before, I have some understanding of it. The better the effect of a spatial divine artifact, the greater the side effects. This is the existence of karma. A spatial divine artifact can't be used to escape, because you can escape from your enemies, but you can't escape karma. You must have used a spatial divine artifact to escape recently, which is why you were teleported to me. What kind of logic is that? There are roughly 3 types of spatial divine artifacts. The first type is the small jump type, which is suitable for combat to improve one's mobility. The advantage is that it can cast spells quickly, but the disadvantage is that it consumes a lot of magic power. The second type is directional teleportation, which has no side effects. However, the disadvantage of this type of spatial divine artifact is that it takes a long time to prepare, and the one-time consumption of magic power can almost drain you dry. This type of spatial divine artifact is basically used as a means of transportation, and is almost useless in battle. The third type is the spatial divine artifact that you are using now, which teleports randomly. The operating mechanism of your spatial divine artifact is very complicated. It doesn't consume magic power, but it will involve you in karma. There is a high chance that you will be teleported to someone who will have karma with you, perhaps your family or friends, or perhaps your enemies. How do you know that my spatial divine artifact teleports randomly? When you appeared on the street, you obviously didn't know where you were and had been standing on the street observing. Zhang Tianyi said, and with your level, you can't teleport without consumption, so it can only be the third type of random teleportation. And it can be said that you appeared in front of me, which can be said to be inevitable. I've used it a few times, and nothing like this has happened before. Why is that? When you draw a line on a piece of white paper with your eyes covered, nothing will happen during the process. Then, when you draw the second line may pass through the mark left behind by the first line. When you draw the third line, the chances of touching the previous mark will increase, and the chances of the fourth line will be even greater. Over and over again, the chances of encountering it will increase. It's the same with the divine artifact in your hand. Nothing happened the first few times, which can only mean that your luck is good. But this time, you just happened to be teleported in front of me, which means that your luck is starting to change. You know so much about spatial divine artifacts. Is it because there are many spatial divine artifacts in this world? It's not a lot, but it's not a small number either. Our sect also has them, but very few people use them. The 3 types of spatial divine artifacts I mentioned all have their own limitations. Chui Xian's eyes sparkled as she looked at Zhang Tianyi. She was considering using the world compass again after its cooldown was over. I know what you're thinking. You want to try again, right? Could it be that you think I should just surrender? Zhang Tianyi smiled and stared at Chui Xian. If you want to teleport to the side of the person you fear the most the next time you teleport, you can give it a try. Do you know who I fear the most? Chapter 1979. Chui Xian's heart skipped a beat. She felt like she was suffering from a human phobia. This kind of mental illness really existed in the dragon race. They feared weak humans. The Qin Zhao she'd met before had already made her feel powerless. Now, this old human made her scalp go numb. Zhang Tianyi calculated with his fingers. The person I fear the most should also be from China, but he has the ability to kill dragons and tigers. The next time you meet him, it'll be your death. Zhang Tianyi's words made Chui Xian even more afraid. You're lying to me, right? Zhang Tianyi ignored Chui Xian's doubt and kept his fake expression. Also, I've calculated that you'll die in his hands in less than half a year. What should I do? What should I do? Chui Xian finally believed him. She knew that in China's supernatural world, prophecy spells had always been very powerful. Almost every spiritualist knew how to do some divination. Since Zhang Tianyi was so powerful, his prophecy spells must be very powerful too. Come to my mountain and live for 3 years. I guarantee that you'll be rid of all disasters and bad luck. You'll be happy and everything will go smoothly. Really? You don't have to believe me, but after you go up the mountain, I won't kill you or lock you up. You can come and go if you want, but don't go back up after you go down. Chui Xian's eyes sparkled. 3 years was just a blink of an eye for dragons. However, 3 years might be the best time to find and assemble that divine artifact. Can't it be shorter? Do you think this is a market where you can bargain? Chui Xian bit her lip and finally said, I'll go up with you, but if I find something wrong, I'll go down immediately. Up to you. With Zephyr, Chen Zhao's body and mind were different. Zephyr was more diligent, patient, and capable than Portia. She never complained about the dirty and tiring work at home. She always finished it silently. With Chen Zhao's wicked mouth, he obviously wouldn't miss this opportunity. He'd belittle Portia to nothing. Chen Zhao was very free these 2 days. He spent most of his time cultivating and training. He didn't go out either. Today, Chen Zhao was diving in the sea. Zephyr and Portia were cleaning the house. At that moment, a stranger entered the Bright Moon Villa. Both Zephyr and Portia were confused when they saw the stranger. Because the butler system didn't give him any notifications. Those who did not receive any notifications from the butler system meant that they had been approved and could enter the Bright Moon Villa directly. Portia, do you know this person? I don't know him. I've never seen him here. Oh, then let's inform the boss. He should be here for the boss. Zephyr looked at the stranger who had already walked through the door. Zephyr, on the other hand, went to the front alley to greet them. But when Zephyr saw this person, she felt that there was something different about him. Chapter 1980. It won't be that fast. There should be around a month. You can't confirm the exact time. To become an elf envoy, you first have to pay respects to the ancestors and receive their recognition. Then you have to receive the blessings of fairies and at least 90% of your tribe's recognition. The ancestors represent the dead, the fairies represent nature, and the tribe represents the living. Only with these three's recognition will you have the right to become an elf envoy. Then, you have to sacrifice dragon blood to the world tree and make your achievements known to millions of people. Speaking of this, Lila Gavik pulled up his sleeve. A dark red brand appeared on it. This brand will become fainter every day. When it finally disappears, it will be the day I face the test of all things in the world. It's estimated to be around 30 days. I can understand the first 3, but do you have dragon blood? Amanda Didier is a dragon, so of course his blood is dragon blood. What about the world tree? Does the world tree really exist in this world? In the legends of the elves are the fruits of the world tree. After falling to the ground, they turned into elves, so we are the children of the world tree. In the hearts of every elf, the world tree really exists. You said that the world tree exists, but where is it? I don't know. Every elf is looking for the world tree. They've been looking since ancient times. What about your achievements? Have you done anything great? I got someone to use my name as the main character and wrote a legendary adventure biography. Through distribution, I've sent out tens of millions of copies. Currently, this book has been at the top of the bestseller list for 3 weeks. Hearing Lila Gavik's words, Chen Zhao almost vomited blood. You can do that. Isn't your ceremony a bit too careless? This ceremony is an ancient ceremony. At that time, only real legendary heroes were qualified to compile their experiences and great deeds into a book and spread it for people to revere and worship. However, in this era, as long as you have money, these problems are no longer a problem. The restrictions of the past have also lost their meaning. Chen Zhao grinned. Is it really okay to blaspheme your ancestors' ceremony like this? Do you think the ancestors of our elves were very strict? Lila Gavik rolled his eyes. Cutting off the head of a tyrant, killing an evil dragon, defeating an army, destroying a country, saving a people, and challenging a demon king. You have to complete at least 3 of these to be considered great achievements. Do you think any elf envoy in the past has completed 3 of these? Chen Zhao was also dumbfounded. The ancestors of the elves were really ambitious. Any one of these achievements was almost impossible to complete. He actually needed 3 of them to be considered great achievements. Even for Chen Zhao, the only thing he was confident in was killing an evil dragon. The other missions were almost impossible. Actually, in the past, those elven envoys had to fabricate their great achievements to gain the recognition of the world tree, but in this era, everything has become more convenient. Indeed, according to Lila Gavik, in the past, when communication was not developed, it took years or even decades for a person's biography to circulate. According to Lila Gavik, it would take years or even decades for a person's biography to spread in the past. As long as they were willing to spend money, the entire world would know their name in half a month. Anyway, Chen Zhao just felt that this ceremony was too perfunctory. What's the point of being an elf envoy? It's just a title, Lila Gavik said. Chen Zhao pursed his lips. He clearly didn't believe Lila Gavik. The complicated ceremony that he'd gone through so much trouble definitely wasn't just for a title. But since he didn't say anything, Chen Zhao didn't ask. Okay, I'll take it, Chen Zhao said. Let me know when you feel like you're about to go through the tribulation. Lila Gavik nodded. Oh, the last specific storm of the year will come 4 days after Christmas. What do you mean? Chen Zhao looked at Lila Gavik in confusion. Mr. Chen, you've been asking about Treasure Island, right? Yes. Chen Zhao knew that he'd asked Lila Gavik before. At the same time, he'd asked him to help him gather all information about Treasure Island. I got a diary left behind by an adventurer from hundreds of years ago. He wrote a poem in the diary. I'm waiting for the storm. I'm a petrel chasing the storm. I'll go wherever the wind goes. That place will be the dreamland of all explorers and pirates. I'll enjoy endless glory and wealth. Lila Gavik said. After this adventurer left this diary, he went to look for the legendary treasure island. Storm, petrol. Skull Hanks once said that there was a witch in his team. When the storm came, the witch turned into a petrel and guided them to follow the storm. They found the 7 mysterious islands, and from there, they found their final destination, Treasure Island. Chen Zhao wasn't thinking about the treasures on Treasure Island. It was still unknown whether there were treasures or how many there were. What Chen Zhao really cared about was another question. Who had sent Skull Hanks to Chen Zhao? The letter had come from the explorer Fanity. However, in Chen Zhao's impression, Fanity shouldn't have much to do with supernatural events. Therefore, Chen Zhao really suspected that Fanity had sent him Skull Hanks. Or rather, someone had sent him a skull under Fanity's name. Chen Zhao couldn't contact Fanity either. He was very doubtful that she was still alive. The first time, Fanity had sent him a metal object. She was referring to the golden curse of Kamasa Island. The second time, she'd sent him Skull Hanks. She'd never sent him anything good. Skull Hanks seemed to have been sent to guide Chen Zhao to Treasure Island. This meant that someone had already landed on Treasure Island and wanted to guide Chen Zhao to it. What was their goal? To share the treasures on Treasure Island with him. Chen Zhao wasn't that naive. There were only 2 reasons for wanting him to land on Treasure Island. One was to harm him. The other was that they needed help. Apart from these 2 possibilities, Chen Zhao couldn't think of a third one. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.